Okay. Okay.
It's too far back.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We're waiting just a few more minutes to make sure everybody gets a chance to log in. And so I'm keeping track in the chat room. If you have questions throughout the day, or if you're having any problems hearing me, or if there's any troubles with sound or audio, let me know in the chat room. I'll be keeping an eye on that. So we're going to start in just a couple minutes. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first Making STEM Connections webinar for this year, for this fall. Excited to see you. Hope you're all having good weather where you're coming from. We finally have a nice sunny day here in Des Moines, so we're excited about that. So I had a lot of questions about how this is going to work with the webinar if you haven't participated before, and also some questions about materials and shipments. So I'm going to go through all of that right away so we can kind of get that information cleared for you. So we are going to be on this webinar quite possibly up until 6:30. Depends on how long people are on and if they have questions, but I would at least slot that amount of time for today. This is being recorded. So what we'll do at the completion of this is I will download the recording, and then we'll send it to myself and upload it onto our YouTube channel. So once I have that, it takes a little bit of time for that to happen. Once I have that address on our YouTube channel, I will send that out to you so that you can watch it again, or you can watch the recorded version. We will also put the recorded version onto our website, the Making STEM Connections website. So you can go onto there and then click on the link for this. So if you ever want to go back or look at it or reference something from here, you'll always have that. Okay, I will be monitoring the chat room. Nobody necessarily in our video conferencing today will have to share their video or their microphone. If they do, I'll unmute you, but right now everyone is muted. We are going to have some guest speakers today. I'm really excited about the founders of 3 Ducks are going to join us later today. And they are actually in 2 different locations and 2 different time zones. So hopefully it's gonna go okay switching back and forth. But I hope that you will have some questions for them about their products and materials. I know you haven't actually received them yet, but I'm excited for you to get those. And we have a little video to watch about it, and then you can talk to all of the people that are involved today from that company about the materials and how they got started. And it's a really exciting story. So that will be happening probably around 5 o'clock our time that they will log on. Materials, everybody wants to know, when is their stuff coming? We're very excited. We had the last couple pieces of your Making STEM Connections kits that were on back order. This is unfortunately the challenge sometimes of ordering this many of things. So they are all in, and we are working feverishly to pack everything up and ship them out. Things will be shipped in shifts. So you're gonna get 2 boxes. You're gonna get a larger box and a smaller box. This is just so that the materials themselves aren't too heavy and the box itself isn't unmanageable. So we will let you know when those boxes are being shipped out. We have a delivery service that comes and picks up those packages for us. And sometimes their truck can only hold so many every day. So what I'll do is give you a notice that these things are being shipped out and you can expect them to be delivered within so many days after they get picked up. So I will do my best to keep you updated as we know more. We will probably begin shipping those out at the end of this week, beginning of next week, and I would hope that everybody would have their materials by the end of next week. Lowe's has also started their shipping and delivering, and they are delivering 2 to 3 days a week. They have a whole plan and a map of where they're going, and I will do my best to update you and send you a heads up email, but just be on the lookout. Let your building staff or your custodial staff know or be aware that there's going to be a delivery of these materials. Remember that if you're getting, especially if you're getting the workbench, the regular workbench, this is a large box. It's a big box and it will be heavy. And so there may be a better place for it to be delivered at your facility, your school, your building. So the delivery driver from Lowe's has your school or your organization's phone number, and they will try to call ahead of time to let you know that they're coming. So if there's a better location, if you have a back dock or a side door or something like that, that would be easier. Make sure to let them know that, or let somebody that's answering the phone at your facility know about that so that they can give them those specific directions. You will, I'll be sending out an email with a checklist of the things that you will be receiving from Lowe's. There will also be a checklist in each of the boxes that you will receive of the materials so that you can know what's in there and what you are getting in that. Okay, so that's the exciting thing of getting all the materials out and to you, and hopefully you've had a chance to use the materials you received over the summer in the green bags and the sewing machines. Today we're going to talk about a couple different topics. One will be obviously our guest speakers. Two would be just a general orientation questions. For some of you, the training was earlier in the summer, and also some of you, it was just a couple weeks ago. So we have a lot of variety in when people took the training. So any chance to update or answer questions, we'll have time today. And then we're also going to talk about safety, which is always a big concern, and especially as you're getting the materials and you're moving forward with those. So before we get started, moving forward with that, if there's any questions that you have in particular that you'd like me to answer as we go through today in reference to the program or the materials or any opportunities, go ahead and put those into the chat room, and I will keep checking that so that I can look and see what questions everyone has. One other thing I wanted to tell you that I'm really excited about is this weekend I am traveling to Pittsburgh for a makers convening, and these are makers coming from all over the United States, all over the world, and we're going to be meeting in Pittsburgh to talk about makers movement and what is happening, what are the new trends, new things that people are trying, and I'm super excited to be finding out more things, and I will share with you, I will update you on the Facebook page and the Twitter page of new things I'm finding out. I'll take lots of pictures and send out maybe some emails with product information or new things that I find out from this makers convening. So I'm excited about that, and I can't wait to show you guys the things that I find out and learn from there. I see a question about the workbench being on wheels. Yes, the workbench is on wheels. When it comes to you, it will come in a large cardboard box, and the assembly on your part will be to put on the handle and put on the wheels. The materials you need for that, the hardware and the tools all come in the box. So you may need somebody to assist you, perhaps putting the wheels on and then tilting the cart back up once you have those wheels. But yes, it does. You don't have to put the wheels on. If you would rather keep your cart stationary and not on these wheels, you could do that as well. But the wheels are, there's one set that are caster wheels so they can pivot and turn, and the wheels can be locked. So that's an option up to you depending on how you want to use the cart. Okay, so I'm gonna transfer now, or not transfer, but I'm gonna switch to my PowerPoint, and I have a few things to share with you about that. And then in about, I'd say about maybe 15 minutes, we'll have our guest speakers to be joining us. So I'm going to work to switch over if I can here. Okay, give me just a second here. Okay. Well, now I'm having struggles. Let me see if I can get this. Oh, there's Marcy. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, sorry, I'm having one technical difficulty. So we do this, I come to a different building in order to use the Zoom equipment. And so I'm not always completely familiar with how to get it all set up and use it. So give me just a moment here. Okay, hold on everybody for just a minute. I apologize. I'm gonna see if I can find my support person and see if he can come and help me here for just a second. Okay, just a moment. Okay, not able to find him. See if he can come and help me. Okay. Oh, guess what? I just figured it out. Okay. How about, let's stick with this. Okay, now I did something I didn't want to do. Okay, so what we'll do is, Marcy, I'm gonna unmute your microphone. Okay, and then Marcy, is there anybody else that we're going to sync to this, or is it just you for right now?
Oh, Ayana, I see Ayana.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through and I can unmute her, and then I'm gonna share your screen, Marcy, and then whenever you want me to share the other, whomever else is on the screen, if it's Ayana, then just let me know.
Yeah, Ayana's on the screen now. She looks like she's still muted though.
Yes, I will go through and I am unmuting her.
Ethan was on, but he disappeared somehow.
Okay, let me see.
He was on when it was
I see Ethan. Okay, I can unmute Ethan as well. Okay. So what I can do then, Marcy, is I can choose okay. So then I think okay. So now, Marcy, people can see you, and then I can go through and I can select whomever else you're going to choose to speak. And so we're excited to have you here, and I'll turn it over to you, and you can chat with our group.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, I'm the mom of the co-founders, Ayana and Ethan. My name is Marcy Klein. I'm a pediatrician, and I am generally the assistant of the co-founders who started the company. And I'm not sure, Jolie, were you gonna do the video first or let us talk?
We can. I have the video queued up. Everybody here has seen the video. They saw it over the summer at the training, but I do have it queued up if you'd like to show it first.
That's Ayana, what do you think?
Either way, whatever works better.
Maybe it'd be good to do that as an intro so that the kids can take off from there. And then after the video, I think Ayana was going to speak, and then she'll kind of turn it over to Ethan, and I can just chime in for support when needed.
Okay. Okay. So then I will make it go back to me. Okay. Hopefully, let's see. Okay, and then Karen. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna play the video now, and you can all let me know if you have any troubles with the sound.
My sister and I are on a mission to inspire children to be thinkers, makers, and innovators.
We're gonna stop it quick.
I clicked on that. So.
You're clicking on the desktop of the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here.
Cool. You should be able to hear it.
Okay.
Can you hear the video okay?
Nobody said they couldn't, so let's try.
Sorry.
No, that's
My sister and I are on a mission to inspire children to be thinkers, makers, and innovators.
Hi, my name is Ayana Klein, and this is my brother Ethan.
Together, we developed 3 Ducks Design architecture sets. We have been playing and creating ever since we were little kids. That's why when we were given a little bit of cardboard and our vibrant imaginations, we were able to create anything.
Last fall, we developed a product that encourages today's youth to think outside the box. Our 3D printed connectors have the ability to transform recycled cardboard into castles, kingdoms, characters, and communities.
One of the beautiful things about our product is that it really does truly integrate STEM, the core science and maths, with true art and design. Through my experience as a pediatrician, there are certainly children that are, better at math and sciences, and then there are other students where their skills lie in the humanities and the arts. Our product, especially with a more open-ended curriculum like architecture or urban planning, design thinking, really allows both students to work on the same project together on equal footing.
Without preset rules, children can imagine, design, create, and reimagine.
3 Ducks Design architecture sets blend sustainability, art, and design with STEM education. We have been humbled by the overwhelming responses from educators, parents, environmentalists, thought leaders, and the huge smiles from children.
I love 3 Ducks Design because I love building everything I really want.
We have won grants and awards, run events at schools, STEM programs, and museums. We have shared our experience with children, encouraging them to become thinkers, makers, and innovators.
And we are growing. In fact, we are outgrowing our ability to keep up with the demand.
This September, we will be launching our first Kickstarter campaign aimed to increase our in-house manufacturing. Join us on our journey to give today's youth the tools for a better tomorrow. You can help by sharing our story and supporting the cause. Be part of the team that is going to make a difference.
Wait. Did you spotlight them on?
Yeah.
Hi, all.
Hi.
So are you guys able to see Ayana as well?
Only
Oh.
if we spotlight her separately, maybe.
I can click on her so that they can see her when she's, there she is.
There she is. Hi, Annie.
So my name is Ayana. I'm currently a sophomore at Washington University in St. Louis. You can kind of see my dorm background. So you saw our Kickstarter campaign video. That was from a year ago, as a year from this past September. So basically, so since we've run our Kickstarter campaign, our company has really exploded. Together, like my brother Ethan and I, we've sold products to over 500 schools, maker spaces, after school programs all around the world, the United States also. We've also run several programs and worked with hundreds of students, and I'm also currently working with a new makerspace here in St. Louis as well. So for like starters, it makes our product makes an incredible open-ended and versatile modeling material. So I have here, I know you haven't received the materials yet, but this is kind of what a smaller kit looks like. So our kits do come with cardboard and connectors. So here's some example of the connector. There's 6 different shapes. This is like a 3-way one, and they all work with all one-ply cardboard. So like recycled Amazon boxes. Here's a 90-degree angle one. So there's a bunch of them. And then they also have a bunch of pre-cut cardboard shapes. You can see like these just pop out. But again, you can use your own cardboard as well. So part of the beauty of our product is that it kind of gets rid of the whole idea of like tape and glue. Like I remember when I was growing up, we relied on a lot of tape and glue, and it's just not only is it bad for the environment, but it's just completely wasteful. And I know teachers and educators throughout my schools were always trying to save tape because it adds up the costs. So that's kind of one of the nice things about our product is you can use it over and over and over again, and everyone has cardboard, especially in the US. Like cardboard is everywhere. You can't get rid of it. So that's kind of one nice thing about how students can also learn to design, imagine, and they can also build using and then build. So basically part of our curriculum and lesson plans show kids, it teaches them about the whole design process, and that is an ongoing process. So it's not like someone can just make something and that's what it is. You can take it apart, you can make it better, alter it to there's just to show that there's really no end point, there's no right or wrong answer. So part of this also, it's incredibly important for children to understand this because so much of focus in their lives is about getting grades, getting an A, proving that they're smart in the way that they can take good tests, but that's not really what education is about. It's more about being able to learn from your mistakes and learn how to enhance things and make it better. So that's kind of what our product aims to do. It also incorporates the arts and STEM learning, no matter where their strengths lie. So some students, like you heard in the Kickstarter video, like some are better at math, some are better at science, some are better at English. And our product kind of blends all of that together, but makes it fun and allows students to work together in a way that they can each have a way to contribute to their final project. So I'm going to turn it over to Ethan for a few minutes. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I think Jolie.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So you might be wondering, what do you do with 3Ducks? So the simplest answer is pretty much everything. But if you're not really sure where to start, we have a ton of activities on our website. So if you go over to the university, there will be a range of design challenges. So there's, for the kindergarten through second grade, we have the Alphabet City, which blends 3D spatial thinking with ELA and geometry skills. But students are encouraged to work together and present their project at the end. So this challenge has them all make a letter, and they've all put them together in the end, and they have the full alphabet. We also have the Geometry 101, which helps them learn basic geometry skills and by building a fun, simple house. And we also have Design in the Wilderness Shelter, which focuses more on design thinking, and it focuses on empathy and how you think about others when you want to design something. For our older students, we have the Tiny House Challenge, which is you have to make a house in 100 square feet. Well, really inches for us, but so there's a specific volume, and also at the end, you have to calculate the cost by taking the surface area of all the pieces you've used and multiplying the cost of each piece. So it integrates some STEM with math and design. And then we also have the Design a Playground and Designing Peace, where students design a community center with the goal to promote peace in an area of conflict. And we also have a few other challenges. If you want to go to the website, you can take a look at them. There are a bunch of them that are a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's a good place for people to start. So if you don't know exactly what to do with the product, those lesson plans are designed to have a wide range for all ages and all skill levels. And then once you're comfortable using the material with the lessons, you'll come up with, and the students will actually come up with a million other activities and designs that they can do with the product. Those are more for warming up. Some of those lessons are more for the classroom. Some of them are more open-ended for the makerspace. But the truth is kids will come up with about 1,000 other ideas that you've never thought of once they get their hands on the product. I think, Ayana, did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, so part of our materials, as Shay kind of just explained, our materials bridge the gap between STEM and technology learning in the real world scenario. So a lot of kids nowadays they use STEM and they use technology, but they learn about smaller problems and like it doesn't really relate to the real world. So that's kind of what our product does. It kind of forces kids to think about real world problems. So for example, like flooding, like how is that fixed? So instead of just using technology to create a circuit and light up a light bulb, like they can like route out a house, like how would it best, like where would the lighting come from, like where is natural light, like how would you prevent flooding, how would you prevent a bunch of different things. So one of our curriculums or lesson plans is our urban planning and architecture one. So in this, students work together to build a city, and then they can even program little robots to go through the city. So there they have to think about the design process, like what goes into a community. They can think about their own community, what's not working so well in their community, and like what's also thriving, and kind of mix all that together to create their own version. And then they can also add LED lights and solar panels to their houses or buildings in their communities. And they can create smart homes with robotic technology, or even add simple like little holes in the cardboard to create a pulley system, which is great educational system for younger kids. So it's just like a combination of things like that that really help our product relate to the real, or help students use our product to be able to understand the real world. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to say about that.
Can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we can.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't mute myself in the process. So what's exciting for the three of you to know is that I have shared your work and the excitement about your product with all of these teachers across the summer, and they are going to be receiving your GoPro or your classroom set. And they'll hopefully be receiving it either at the end of this week or beginning of next week. And so I was really excited to share that with them. But I think what's really even more exciting for me is if you would be willing to share the story of how you started this. All of these teachers that are participating in this webinar and that are receiving these materials are involved in a program about maker spaces in a learning environment. And we talk about the concept of entrepreneurialism. And that's why when I met Marcy at NSTA this year, I was so excited about her story, and that the two of you started this company based on creativity and something that you made, and how you've been able to grow that. So could you talk to them a little bit about that process as well?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I think, when Ayana and Ethan were little and growing up, we had a very important rule in our house that we felt that children should be making gifts for each other rather than, you guys can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay. That they should make gifts for each other, because that helps you think about other people and what they're doing with the gifts that you give them, rather than just buying something on Amazon. So we added a lot more emotional content. And I think as the kids were growing up in school, they learned a lot, but they never really learned things with what we now know of as design thinking, with the process of thinking about the other person and designing something or creating something for a specific reason. And I think years later, when Ayana took an architecture class, it really connected her to what we used to do when we used to make gifts for each other. The whole design process, who are you designing a building for? Who are the users? You have to get into that user's mind and their heart to understand what their needs are, and then design for that certain person, and bringing empathy into the design process. And I think when Ayana saw that, and she was practicing her whatever lesson plans they gave her, she was much more interested in learning technology and using her geometry skills, because she really wanted to create a wonderful product for these fake people. But the idea of actually creating something that would be used by other people. And she felt that if kids learned that way at an early age, they would be much more engaged in making and designing things. And that was really the heart and the start of the company. I actually, besides being a pediatrician, I actually had a little stint when I was making furniture. So we had a workshop, and we had some tools at our disposal. And Ayana and Ethan got together and they did CAD on their own, not to make a little ball for CAD class, but because they wanted to create the connectors that would fit on cardboard to create their own architecture set. So again, they were using CAD and 3D printing for a reason, as opposed to just building what, you know, the 3D printer tells you to spit out. And they had to go through multiple iterations. You'd think it would be easy to create a connector that fits cardboard, but it's actually not so easy. So it took them, I mean, not 2 years, 1 week, but probably 20 or 30 iterations before we perfected it. And then it was like, okay, now what? We have this great product. What do we do? So the kids went to farmers markets and did, quote, market testing to see how kids liked it, who was our target market. And it just kind of snowballed from there. The feedback from the first 2 weeks was just absolutely incredible. From the kids' perspective, kids were excited to play. Parents were excited to talk to Ayana and Ethan. Educators were just like, what is this thing? I need it in my class. And I just sat back, and for me, watching parents playing with their children, the only iPhones that I saw were parents actually taking pictures of their children, which for me was so exciting to see that the parents were actually engaged with their kid and playing. So that gave me an inspiration to help the kids grow the company. And I have no business training. We all three of us had to learn by trial and error. Make a box design, try it out, see which one sold. Our first kits were actually, they were designed actually to be very like MoMA and modern art friendly. So every house was actually, I don't know if this is backwards for you guys, it's backwards for me.
No, it's good.
Okay, yeah, that will work. But like they were Mod House and like Bronze Station. We used like European names, and we learned very quickly that nobody knew what our things were. So we had to, you know, change it to American English names so that people could understand what they were buying. So that was like one just little experiment that we learned along the way. If people don't understand what they're buying, they're not going to buy it. So that was, you know, but that was basically how we've grown the business. And I think, as Jolie can probably attest, one of the biggest things that the kids did that helped us really skyrocket our sales was create a display with a little city, where, as opposed to just putting pieces out where educators could come by and try out the product, we gave them a little world to look at with LED lighting and a little robot running through the environment so that educators could see exactly what they would be doing with their students and what they could create. And, you know, that's how we learn how to sell the product little by little. Now we have less curriculum because that we were selling to a lot of makers, but in the classroom, they wanted more lesson plans. So every step along the way, we've done well, but we also learned what was better. And we don't look back and say, oh, we should have done this 6 months ago. We say, wow, we're so happy we discovered to do this, and now we're going to do it in the future. And it's such an amazing growing experience for all of us, me too. But for Ayana and Ethan to be able to accompany, learn how to make mistakes and pivot and fix. And that's really what our product is teaching little kids. So it kind of is like a perfect circle. And I tend to talk a lot, so I'll stop now. But if you guys have questions for Ayana and Ethan.
Yeah, I've asked for people in the chat box, so hopefully if they have questions, they'll put them in there. One was they asked for your website, which I put in there, and we'll be excited to, through our website that all of these teachers have access to, share that as well so they can see the wonderful materials you've come up with. I was curious what, like Ethan, what are you seeing as the future of this company or the future for yourself?
So we're we're writing a lot more curriculum. So we're hiring curriculum writers now so we can have curriculum that is
standard aligned.
Standard aligned.
Yeah.
So a lot more schools can use it, and it's yeah. So we're doing that, and we're still trying to grow, get into more schools. and grow our product line
Right.
and reach out to people.
Part of the new curriculum will be an online place where schools can share their projects. So it'll be a project-based learning program, and schools will be able to sign on, use the project, and then the students will learn how to photograph and storytell and share their product. And each classroom will have the ability to have their own web page within our community. So students in Kenya's idea of what a community is may be very different than students in Iowa or New York City, but they'll be able to learn for each other. So the beauty will be to empower children to teach other children when they create their projects. So it's like a never-ending project. And Ayana's a little bit more familiar with that and the whole global initiative that she did all summer long.
Do you, Ayana, here, let me click on you. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so basically the Global Initiative was a project I started this past summer. So it's only been a few months since it started. Basically, the whole aim of that is to connect students all around the world and have them learn about each other's cultures and communities. And kind of just teach them about how no matter where you're from, like you're all very similar, you all face similar like problems, and kids can really connect to each other on another level. So right now we're working with, I think it's about 14 different schools, all different countries, and so basically a lot of these schools that we're working with in these countries, that it's like a like piloting program, a lot of them are very underprivileged. So because of that, we funded a little bit of money, and we sent them the kits, but in return, we asked for them to send us feedback. So if you go on our website, which I believe you have, if not, it's www.3ducksdesign.com. And if you click on the Global Initiative page on there, a lot of the projects are still in progress because a lot of people were on summer break in the summer, even though they were all around the world. But we're still working on getting more schools to return their feedback to us now that the year started. But we have about, I think it's 5 projects that have been completed right now. So if you look on there, you can see all these different pins and all the gold star pins you can click on. You can actually see the students using our curriculum, lesson plans, and materials to kind of showcase their community. They had 4 different questions, prompts, and they could choose from one of them. They're all very similar. And they sent us back feedback on and what their students created, and then kind of how it relates to their community. And then we even put some of those teachers who we've been working with on our faculty page, just to kind of give them a little bit more credit as they help their students use our product and they contributed to our business. But so that's kind of what we have right now. But again, it's because at the beginning, it's not as much at the moment, but we're continuing to grow that and make it a bigger movement. So we can really focus on connecting students all around the world, and hopefully at some point have a way for them to actually communicate in a safe way that's aligned to all the standards within schools as well. So it kind of just gives them a bigger picture of the real world and lets them communicate with each other in like a real world way rather than just learning from a textbook, I guess.
What are you studying in college?
I'm not sure yet. I'm trying to switch into business. If I switch into business, I'll do entrepreneurship. If not, probably a combination of business and education, and maybe architecture.
And do you think that's a result of this work that you've done with this product?
Definitely. I mean, like growing up, I came from a family of doctors, so I always wanted to be a doctor. And it wasn't until I really started this company. Like for me, it was more just that I didn't want to be sitting in front of a computer all day, every day. And that's kind of what my idea of business was, that like people go to work and they do online stuff every day, 24/7. But that's really not the case. It's a lot. I'm a very creative person. And after starting this company, I kind of realized that it really does have a very creative aspect to it. And I really like just like the creative thinking, and even making like something like I designed like the whole global initiative part of the website, like even just things like that. It's a lot of fun, and I really like reaching out to all these people and making new connections. And I just like heard a lot of like great stories from people all around the world now, and I think that's a really interesting part. So that's definitely helped me want to really go into at least entrepreneurship or business. So I mean, honestly, I don't know exactly what I want to do after school, but As long as the company is continuing, I definitely am going to keep that. It's like a very important thing to me, and I really enjoy everything about it. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Ethan, I have another question for you. You're still in high school?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
How do you think this product works with older students? I see in a lot of the videos and things, it seems that there's a lot of younger students. Do you think that your fellow students would use something like this, or older students in general?
I think middle school for sure. We're starting to incorporate electricity and circuitry into the kits. So you can use them to light up LEDs or make like windmills, or have sounds like when you put your finger under, like in the door, or when a dog walks into the door, we'll have like a buzzer go off. So definitely for middle school. I think doing it for high school might be a little bit difficult, but I definitely think we can come up with a more advanced product line that definitely will let kids my age, it'll teach them a little bit, or could teach them a lot. Yeah.
I also think that high schoolers can, depending on what your tools are in the school, can actually use CAD and laser cutting to create their own shapes. So you could make it a lot more complicated. And just the whole idea of material engineering, cardboard. We actually got a tour of the Georgia Pacific cardboard manufacturing facility by the president of Georgia Pacific, which was super cool. But he spent an hour talking to the kids and myself about the complex engineering that goes into a cardboard box. So just the components of like bridge building and model making and incorporating engineering into that could definitely be high school level.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cardboard that the three of us never knew about, the corrugations and the strength and the stresses that were, I mean, there's no question that high schoolers could take it to a whole different level. And I will correct Ethan, because even though he designed the product and sells the product, he did the most amazing Holocaust project out of a shoebox and used our product with his friends, who's also 16. So two 16-year-old boys spent about 3 hours working with our product to make a great project. So
and
definitely
use
it.
Another thing that we do have people, like students can do, that we've started doing a little bit of, is even if we are working on building more curriculum for older students as well, that'll be in the future. But right now, another thing we do, I can suggest, is like for older students, like high schoolers, if they have younger students, like middle or elementary students in their school, like one of the things they can do is they can design their own lesson plans. So they can come up with a problem that they think is prevalent in their community or in their life, and then they can kind of create a little mini lesson plan around it and give it to younger students, and then work with the younger students directly and teach them what this problem is and how, and they can brainstorm together on how to fix it. Because like I can tell you, even though I'm in college, like I think that I've learned the most from the students, like the younger students I've worked with throughout this process. Like I think I've learned more from them than I've learned in my whole life. And they are, because they're so creative and they have such a great imagination. And I think that we kind of lose that as we grow up. So that's one thing that high schoolers can do as well. And that also teaches them like how, it might not like be like teaching them like calculus, but it's still teaching them how to work with other age groups and how to solve problems and like real world things. Like you're not going to always be working with kids your same or your colleagues aren't always going to be the same age as you. There's always like age barrier. So being able to work through that at a young age is also really important.
Yeah, I think Ayana is describing the 4 C's and social skills. She just doesn't know the term for it. Working with children is a huge part of education, and it's helped Ayana grow tremendously also.
So we really appreciate your time talking to us. It's really exciting. I know that when I met Marcy at NSTA, I was so excited about this product. And I came back immediately and told so many people, and we used them over the summer in our summer camps. And I posted, we have a closed Facebook page for this group, and I posted a video of a student, a 4th grade student this summer who made a tiger out of the connectors and added a microbit and an Arduino to make the tiger make his jaw open and close and do different things. And it was such a great example of the creativity that can really grow using this product. And I love that that was a high tech and a low tech combination. So we're really excited that we're able to put your product all over the state of Iowa. There's going to be hundreds and hundreds of teachers here that have that. Is there anything that you can tell us that they might see in the future, like on your website, as far as new products? I know you alluded to older students, but are there new and exciting ventures that you're looking at with the product that you haven't already told us about?
I think right now we're working on this amazing community project-based learning program. So it's going to be more about adding curriculum, but I think that the connectivity between children and letting them we're going to be focusing a little bit on, besides the lesson plan itself, on how children share and present and communicate with each other. So the whole online sharing component will teach kids things as simple as, you know, how to photograph or how to video your product, how to share it, how to speak about it, how to speak clearly and succinctly and describe what you've done. So these are all the skills. You know, anybody can teach the kid how to calculate the area of and the volume of the building. But if they can't explain to other people in the world what they've done, why they did it, and how they did it, then it kind of dies with them. So I think connecting kids and communicating between cultures is the direction that we're going to go in the short term. We could certainly come out. We already have some new connectors that we have waiting for when we're ready. But we have a lot more to do with these before we roll out the next set of products. And it's also, part of it is the beauty of the product is that it's so simple, elegant, and open-ended. So we're not quite ready to start making it, you know, a lot of companies just want to do more and more and more. And then the next thing you know, it's not open-ended anymore. Because you've just fine-tuned it so much that it closes the product. There's a beauty to a perfect circle. It could be anything. Once you make it into the shape of a creativity and ability to do anything that they want with it. So it's you know, right now we're focusing on what you do with the product rather than adding more products. And like robots, like, this is a perfect product. I mean, design a city and then program that robot to navigate that city. So we could create another robot, but the truth is there's so many great robots out there. Like, we don't need to do that. Like, we're the raw material, we're the structure for all the other high-tech products to use.
I think that's wonderful. I'm really excited about that. I think you're right. It's very open-ended and it can go in lots of different directions. And I'm excited for our teachers when they get these materials to see all the different things that they're going to make. And I hope that they share that with us, and I'll be happy to share those with you too, the great projects that they come up with. So I very much appreciate your time today. Thank you for your patience at the beginning for me getting a technology figured out. But we're really excited about this, and happy to share with you the incredible things that our teachers are going to be using with with their students and what they're going to be able to make. So
yeah, that sounds great.
Yes.
Make one request: share.
Yes.
Share online. The more projects and the more things that other people see that we could do with the product, number one, we can incorporate that into our next lesson plan, but also get more product out there so that more kids can start creating, and we can build more of a global community that everybody can connect with.
I think that sounds great. And I will, on our Twitter page, I follow you so I can share that Twitter connection too with everyone so that they can, and I assume you're on Instagram too, so we can share that address and encourage our educators to share on there too.
Yeah, that would be terrific.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much again for taking time out to share with us. And if I have any questions as a follow-up to this from any of our educators, I'd be happy to pass that along to you, Marcy, and you can pass it along to the others.
Yeah, no, you can email us any questions. You know, info@ goes to all three of us.
Okay.
But you can do, all the emails are Ayana, Ethan, Marcy. So if you have a specific question for any specific person, we're here for you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to see if we can stop this video. It'll help me. I don't know. I think it's
okay. All right. So that was really exciting. I'm really happy we were able to have them join us. We are going to, if you have any questions, any other questions that come up later, just let me know, and I'll be happy to forward that on, or you're welcome to ask them directly too. So we are going to, with the rest of the time that we have today, we're going to talk a little bit about safety and some of the other materials that come into the kit. Remember that if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat box. And I will do my best to answer. I take attendance through the participant page. So for some of you, I've been sending you a question and getting clarification on what school you're from, because I may only see a first name or something like that. So if, for example, there's somebody who's logged on with their iPhone, which is wonderful, but whoever that is, if you can send me an email later just so I know who you are, that would be great, so I can record you for attendance purposes. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the rest of the materials that are going to be coming in the kit. And today's focus, we're going to look specifically at safety. So I want to talk to you about the safety lesson that comes in your curriculum framework. And there's some safety cards that are in there, and then I brought some of the tools so that I can show you a little bit about them. And then I have a couple of videos to show you that students have made about safety as well. So in the curriculum framework, there are multiple lesson prompts, and we talked about this during the training. You will get this document when your shipment comes, you know, by the end of next week. This framework, and all of the lessons have this same basic layout as you see here, that there is a title, there is a general description, there is instructional objectives listed, guiding questions, some literacy connections, a quick reference to standards, and then also some vocabulary words. And in this safety lesson, the key we're really looking at is the idea of the 3C rules, the caution, communication, and confidence. That we want to make sure that when students are using these types of materials that they are utilizing those 3 C's. And we'll talk a little bit about them as we go through some of the materials. The lessons that we designed to go with this, as we mentioned during the training, have these 4 different levels, and you are able to self-select these levels based on your students' needs or on where they are, maybe in their skill development or their vocabulary. So the novice level, we don't necessarily grade band all of these, but the novice level in general might be a grade K1, maybe 2. And what we see here in the novice level is that they're going to build a safety stoplight. In fact, you see this in the novice, the practitioner, and the apprentice level is a safety stoplight. And this is a kind of a categorizing system that you and the students develop together jointly to say, what are the items that are in the kit that are on green stoplight, or green light meaning go. That means they can use them anytime that they would like. They don't have to ask permission. They can just access those out of the cart or whatever storage system that you have set up. The yellow means slow down, and you need to ask first. So maybe those can be used without direct supervision, but you have to ask for permission. And then we have the red stoplight, and that means whoa or stop. You cannot use that without asking for permission, and you can't use it without an adult supervising you in some capacity. So in the novice, the practitioner, and even the apprentice level, we allude to the stoplight and having students collaboratively work together to designate the items that are on the that are in your cart and putting them on these different stages of the stoplight. As a thought, just because that something is on yellow at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the week, or you know, if you're working on them with a certain project, maybe at the beginning of the project, that that tool or that material might be on yellow, but it may change to green for the group. These could also be individual goals too. You may have students that, I've heard of teachers using almost like a, like when you go to the swimming pool in the summer and once you pass the swimming test, you can go off the diving board. So a similar type of system where if you can demonstrate safely using this tool in multiple different ways, then you can be allowed to have that tool on yellow or on green. Maybe there's a stamp or a badge system. As they go through and use the materials, you know, in a safe manner. If I observe you at 3 different times using this tool appropriately, then you can, you know, have that tool on green and you can use it whenever you want. If I see you not using that tool appropriately or safely, then maybe we move that tool to be on a different color, maybe from yellow to red or from green to yellow. Again, this is based on how you are interacting with your students. If these are your class students and you have a self-contained class and you work with the same students every day, then it might be easier to individualize that. If you only see them for 2 hours once a week after school, you know, you may come up with a different system of how you know, help students to understand what is safe for them to use with or without supervision. The expert level that you see here is looking at having students create a safety video. So having them design some type of production to demonstrate or show how to safely use these pieces of the kit, whether it be a tool or a piece of material or a piece of equipment, something like that. And this video could then be a support document for other students. So that could be part of their training system. It could be if you can demonstrate, you can use the cordless drill, it can be on yellow. If you can show me that you safely know how to change the drill bits, you know how to store the drill properly, plug it in, charge it, and you've watched the safety video that was made by last year's student or by older students in the school or something like that. You could certainly use the videos in that capacity. I have a couple of examples of those that I'm going to show you here in a little bit that are from the Crestview School of Inquiry that is in Clive. So I can demonstrate that. You can use the GoPro that came with your kit. That's certainly a great tool for creating videos, or you could use any other type of recording device. And at the end, as we always do with our lesson plans, we have these reflection moments. So these are opportunities for you to talk with the students about what did we learn, why are these things important. Also, I forgot to mention in the previous part, in fact, let me go back if I can. In the apprentice level, you see discussion about signage. Things that they might see in an environment that needs safety things marked, whether it be chemicals or other tools, and even careers that are involved. So there's some focus here on things like OSHA. So there's a career connection here, or somebody that works for Amtrak, for example, and maybe they're a safety officer. So how do they evaluate the tools and the safety of the employees that work there, as well as the passengers maybe, or even the customers of a company. So you could even investigate that as a career connection as well. I wanted to mention that. So that's the lesson that comes in the framework. And so I want to show you really quick, hopefully these videos will connect okay. I'm just going to show you a little bit, not necessarily the whole thing, but I can post these videos on our website. These are some examples of how students made some safety videos. Hold on just a second. I need to share my screen in a different way. So that you can see this. Okay.
Hot glue gun has high temperature and low temperature. High temperature is going to be really hot. Low temperatures probably works for most things. Never touch the hot end of the glue gun. Just hold your hand over it. If you can feel the heat, it's hot. Glue goes in the end right there. Push it in as far as it goes.
Why is there smoke coming out?
And then you use the trigger after that. You got to give it a chance to. It's going to take a while for it to get melted.
Take your hands away from like where it is, and then when you use it, don't touch the silver part where the hot glue comes out, because then it's really hot.
Okay, show me what it looks like when it's coming out of the gun.
When it comes out white, so it's like crystal. It's like that.
Clear, you mean?
Clear, pretty much. Then that's what comes out of it, and then when you leave it there for a couple minutes or something, for sex, it gets cold and then it gets really sticky. When you use a glue gun, you really need to be super careful where you put it, because if you accidentally put your hand on the hot glue and it's not even cold, you'll get your hand full of it and it's really hard to take it off. So there's an advantage of getting it stuck on your hand really hot.
I cut this in pieces so I could chew one at a time. So I'm doing two, I'm putting it over here, and then I'll just twist this out of here and do it.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you again just a little clip of that. Of that video. Let's see, come back. Here. And then I have one more. This is from the same teacher. This video is her student, the same actual student that you just saw, and part of that video, using the construction knife. So this student built a voting booth out of cardboard, and he needed to take that apart. And so they created this video. So I want you to look at it and think about it for a little bit. There are some things that he demonstrates of how he actually got hurt using this knife in the incorrect way. So it definitely would be something to talk about. How do you appropriately use this? So we'll watch a little bit here. Okay, just a second.
Immediately.
Share my screen. Okay.
Close the blade when finished, and when not in use, only extend the blades as far as needed to cut through objects. Keep the blade sharp, as a dull blade may pull, making it more likely to cause the blade to slip and potentially cut your fingers. Like what I got right here.
What is that?
Got cut. So I did not follow this rule that time. On accident, I was just cutting. And like I said, don't cut in angles. So I went like this, and I cut myself right there. I started gushing because it was open.
So what would be the right way to cut this box? We're going to use this box over.
Go like this and take my hands away from the object. Like that's what I did last time. And then that's exactly. The nice thing about box cutters is that literally they cut so easily that you don't even need to have to push and huff and stuff.
So to avoid cutting the carpet, it's a good idea to put it on something.
Because if you put it on the carpet, it's going to cut strings, and then kids are going to start to want to pull them up, and then teachers are going to tell them not to. So, yeah.
So then what do you do?
I just cut it here and then just, you want this pen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to, again, just show you an example of the video of this student using the tool. And go back to here. Sorry, trying to get through all the different screens. Now, thank you, Bailey, for pointing out. Does it come with the resistant gloves, the cut resistant gloves? Yes, the kit does. And actually, I'm learning so much technology here. It's changing between all these different screens. So I hope, okay. So I have a kind of a, oh, I'm sorry, it's trying to focus. I have a camera set up here and, oh, it's upside down. That's unfortunate. That's okay. But what I wanted you to see are some of the tools that come in your kit. These are the tools that will be delivered by Lowe's when they come. And here is the knife. It looks different than the one that was in the video because this kit is, we previously were getting materials. Sorry, it's auto-focusing. Previously, we were getting materials from, let's see if I can do this, from Home Depot, and now we are getting them from Lowe's. So the tools look different. But here is the knife. This is what it looks like. I actually like this one a lot better. I like the handle that is on here. And then the blade is in here as well. So there is a lever for recessing the blade and then pushing the blade back out. He mentioned, the young student in the video mentioned about keeping these blades sharp. You may think that a dull blade is safer, but that would not be the case because you tend to have to cut harder or with a jerky action when the blade is dull. So you want to keep the blade sharp so it's easy to cut. In your kit, you will receive a cartridge that has replacement blades. So again, that's something to think about, is not only changing these blades, but also thinking about where to store these blades as well as the knife itself. This may very well be something you put on red, that you cannot use it without adult supervision. What I really enjoy about the video that we just watched was, again, you never saw the teacher's hands. The teacher was supervising. This is the same teacher that did the video of the two young boys using the sewing machine. So she's there, she's supporting the student, but she's not interfering. So she had confidence in to use that tool and that material in a safe manner. But there's still an adult there. So once you receive these materials, you will need to come up with a plan of perhaps where to store these. You know, that maybe students can have access to them and maybe they can't. That's for you to determine in your setting. But I want you to be very well aware, not just the knife, but also the replacement blades. You will receive in your kit too, where did I put my gloves? Your the cut resistant gloves. Oh, I had them right here. These are not cut proof. These are not like totally resistant to a piece of glass or a knife going through them, but they are definitely resistant to. So if I were to put this glove on and I had this knife, okay, and I went like this, okay, then you can see that my skin is protected. All right, if it was just my bare hand, that story would be different. So it's a good idea to have students wear these gloves. You'll get 6 pairs of these gloves when using the knife, as well as when using things like the hot glue gun, right? So these are also heat resistant gloves, not heat proof, but heat resistant. So when they're using different tools like the soldering iron or even the saw or different things like that, these gloves would be a really good idea. So those are the gloves. Somebody was asking about the workbench, if it locks. Yes, the workbench has a locking mechanism and it will come with keys. And so you could store these items in a locked drawer in the workbench with those keys if you wanted to. We intentionally selected a workbench that would do that. The only way that you wouldn't have a locking mechanism is if you selected the alternative kit. If you selected the alternative kit, you will get more components for storing that are plastic-based, meaning that it's easier to move them around. So if you're moving from building to building and you can't put a full workbench in the back of your car, we wanted to have an alternative that would be smaller components or pieces. Those components, those storage devices, do not have the ability to lock. So if you did select the alternative kit, you would want to think about how could you store these materials in a safe manner. Some of the other things that are in this kit, in the toolkit itself, to think about in a safe manner, there is a pair of scissors that is in here. These are, you know, pretty general craft scissors, not anything super strong or pointy, but definitely something to think about as far as safety is concerned. There is a wire cutter in here, as long as some pliers. So these are really good for cutting wire or tougher plastics, but we want to make sure that we're not cutting anything else, like a finger or something with these. I do like that these have a really nice grip to them, which makes it safer to use, but still something to think about is making sure that things that we don't want to get cut in between those two different blades. Sometimes people don't think about a measuring tape as being something that they could be hurt by, but when you pull out the measuring component on this tape, there's a button that you can push to lock the measuring component as it's out, and when you release that, this will come in very fast. If a student happens to have a hand here, this is made of a thin metal, it could slice their finger. So you maybe don't think of a measuring tape as being a dangerous tool, but it could if students are not using it properly. So we will want to demonstrate that when you do retract it, that you keep your hands away so that they don't get pinched or cut in that process. Okay, there are some other tools in here. The hammer, I will tell you that this is a nice hammer, but it is very heavy. So if you're using this with young students, this hammer would be a challenge, and it might be difficult for them to accurately use this hammer. So be very careful. And we can certainly do a wonderful lesson on levers and talk about where you're gripping the hammer so that you have more control and you don't feel the weight. So if you create a shorter lever, it will be easier to use the hammer. Little quick piece of advice, you're going to get some hardware, some nails and screws and washers and things that will be delivered from Lowe's as well. If you are having young students or anyone really hammering in nails, you can take these which are your needle nose pliers, and you can use those to hold the nail. So you can put the nail in between the grip parts right here on your needle nose pliers and use these to hold the nail, and then use the hammer to hit the nail. Now you don't have your fingers directly holding on to the nail. So you're less likely to hit your fingers in that process of hammering in that piece of hardware. So that's a nice, easy way that you can use to protect your hands in that process. The gloves, somebody asked about the size of the gloves. The gloves are adult smalls. That is the smallest I could get in those type of safety gloves. But as you can see, here is the size. Just to give you a reference, here's the tape measure, and here is the glove. So they are small and they are stretchy. If you have kindergarten students, this glove might be kind of big for them. But you could maybe look at ways to adapt it or to tighten it, maybe using some tape or a clip. So you could maybe use a binder clip to hold the back part here that might tighten that glove up and make it a little bit easier for them to use. Okay, so while I have this document camera open, let me show you just a few other tools, and we can talk about some of the safety things before I switch back to the program. So another tool that I want to talk to you about to keep in mind for safety is the cordless drill. The drill that we got for you, what I really like about this is it's not a very heavy drill. It's also not a very powerful drill. That was intentional. There is not a big, large battery pack here that would make it have more power, but also make it heavier. So this is a really great, this is meant for just general household use kind of drill. The dangers that we have to think about in a piece of equipment or a tool like this has to do with the rotating motor here, okay? And when you are using your drill bits, okay, and that you are putting the drill bits in, then we want to be very careful of that rotating component of the drill, because things can be caught in there. So things like hair or necklaces or hoodie strings, anything like that that is dangling could potentially get caught in that rotating part. So you want to keep those back. Something I've heard some teachers talk about keeping ponytail holders in their maker space for students. So if they needed to pull their hair back, they have those easily accessible to them. So when you are putting the drill bit here into the chuck, into the collet that's here, there is an opening right here, and it's a 3-part opening that is used to tighten, either to open up wider for a bigger drill bit. So if you're using the 1/2-inch drill bit, okay, which is much larger versus the smaller one, so we can adjust this part right here. So as I turn this, I'm going to hold the inner part so that it doesn't move, and then this outer part, there's actually directions. I know it's kind of hard probably for you to see the detail on here, but it gives you directions for locking and unlocking so that you know what direction to go to open or close. But I suggest, even though oftentimes students will see adults using the motor to do this tightening and untightening, I suggest using the hands. So you can see the part coming out right here that is going to hold on to the bit, and you can put it in with your hands. And I highly recommend that you teach students to hand tighten the drill bit as you're putting it in there. If you can hold this part and pull the trigger and have it rotate separately for tightening it, but then you have your hands really close to the moving part of the drill. So I highly recommend hand tightening and hand loosening to put your drill bit on there. So when you want to remove it, again, then you go the other direction. There's an arrow on here that tells you how to unlock it to take that drill bit out. This drill has a toggle switch here for going forward and for going backwards. It also has a middle setting. So if you put it directly in the middle, when you push on the trigger, nothing happens. So that can be a safety feature too, so a student doesn't accidentally pull the trigger while they're doing something and cause this part to rotate. Okay. A few other pieces to talk about is the miter box and the saw that you're going to get. This is what the saw looks like. It is a hand saw. It has small teeth on here because it is designed for cuts of small wood, not huge 2x4s or anything like that. When you are using this saw, the technique that we use at the Science Center in our makerspace when we have visitors using the hand saws is we teach them that both hands always are on the handle. We do not use the opposite hand from the handle to hold whatever the object is that you're sawing, which would put your open hand in contact or possible contact with the blade. That is what the clamps are for. So in your kit, you are going to get some small clamps and some medium clamps. Use those clamps to secure whatever it is that you might be cutting, whether it's wood or cardboard or plastic or something else. Use these clamps. To do that, there is a release mechanism here that allows the clamp component to slide along the arm. Okay, and so you can use that to move it. Then this trigger component here will tighten it in smaller increments. So secure whatever you're cutting with the clamps first so that both hands can be on the handle of the saw. This might be one of those safety checks that you give students. When I see you using the saw, I need to see that both hands are on the handle and that you're making cuts perpendicular to the wood, that you're not standing in odd angles or it's too high or too low. Things like that, that you might say to ensure that students are safely using the saw. We have these saws open for our visitors to use with minimal supervision, and we've had that for almost 4 years now, almost 5 actually, and we have yet to have anybody need stitches. So it can be done safely, and students can definitely be empowered by learning how to use a handsaw. Okay, I'm gonna check really quick. Oh yes, Bailey brought up the idea of washing the gloves. Also, with that, you want to wash the safety goggles. So you are going to get 30 sets of safety, they're actually glasses. You're gonna get 30 sets of safety glasses, and you want to make sure that you clean those on somewhat of a regular basis. And you can use sanitary wipes. That's what we use at the Science Center. We just have like a big container of them, and then we just quickly wipe them down to make sure that we're not sharing any little friends, or we don't get mildew that builds up in there, or mold of any kind. Another tool, really quick, to talk about safety issues is the soldering iron. The soldering iron, this is the one that you will receive, you should have received this summer. Remember, it has a little black plastic stand to it, and then you got, it looks kind of like a pencil container that has solder in it. This is a very simple soldering iron. The solder that we use is lead-free. It does not require flux. It is just a really simple version of a soldering iron, but it still gets very, very hot. So if you are using this in an environment with students, you want to make sure that they understand, first of all, that it does get very hot. And this is definitely a circumstance where you would want to have them wearing the heat-resistant gloves. That would be very, very important, because if this touched raw skin while it was plugged in, it would definitely burn them. If it touches this, it's going to burn the plastic on the glove, and you're going to smell that, but it would protect their hands at that same time. So soldering iron, definitely want to be careful in terms of heat. You will also get in a kit, a first aid kit. It's a very simple first aid kit that comes with a variety of bandages. It has a, sorry, it's trying to autofocus. It has an ice pack in there. It has some gloves to protect your hands. It does not have any medication in it. That was intentional on our part. It was actually challenging to find a first aid kit that doesn't have acetaminophen or aspirin or Advil or anything like that. There are no medications in here, but it's really, it's small, it's very simple. If you have a lot of people using your space, or if you're checking out kit components, you might want to purchase some more of these to put in so that teachers always have access to a first aid kit whenever they're using some of the materials. Let's see. Oh, let me just show a few other things while we have the camera on. Another type of equipment, or another tool to be careful of that has rotating components would be the Dremel. The Dremel tool only comes in the kit for 4-8 students, grades 4 through 8, or those of you who got the Hummingbird component. What's nice about this Dremel is that it has a battery pack. So this battery pack just disconnects, and there is a charger that comes with it, and you just plug this part into the wall, and then you hook it into here. It's not as powerful as some, sorry again, I'm sorry, it's trying to autofocus. It's not as powerful as some other Dremels, but that's fine for what we're using it for. The battery will last a good long time, and you, for what we're doing, you'll still be able to use it. There is, sorry, I'm gonna see if it can autofocus. Let's see if I can get it to, there is a high and low that is on here, so you can rotate it at a faster speed or at a lower speed. Just like with the cordless drill, we want to be very careful that we don't have any dangling materials that could come in contact here with our rotating pieces. So hair, hoodie strings, necklaces, and different things like that, okay? There are instructions that come with the Dremel on how to change the bit. It is similar to the drill bit in that there is a cullet piece in here. This blue button You have to press this to release this to open it up. And just like we said with the drill bit, this part opens or narrows as you put the different pieces in there. So there's directions that come with the box. It's quite simple on how to do it, but I've seen a lot of people struggle to pull this, the attachment or the implement out, and the key is to push this button because it releases the part here that's holding the bit or the component or the implement in. Okay, so this does rotate at really fast speeds. So this could be something else that you might want to have gloves, have students wearing gloves while they're using the Dremel. Let's see, share link. Oh, where you found the first aid kits. Rochelle, we got them at Walmart. That's where we found them, and they were not very expensive. I want to say they were maybe $5 for the first aid kits. And we ordered them in large quantities. So if you are looking to get a lot and they don't have them on the shelf, definitely ask them, because we were able to get those and with no problems from Walmart. And oh, thank you, Bailey. Thank you for saying that about the glove. Oh, slow closing drawers. Yes, Brenda, the drawers on these. So in previous years, we had a different, workbench, and the ones that we get now from Lowe's, what's nice is these are Craftsman, and they are automatic closing drawers. So they will slowly close themselves, but still safety itself in just the tool carts, the workbench, is that you do not want to have multiple drawers open at a time, because obviously that could change the center of gravity, and it could cause that workbench to be unstable, and it could possibly tip. So some of the drawers are horizontal drawers that pull out towards you, and then there is a vertical cabinet type drawer that would open to the side, but you do not want to have more than one drawer open at a time for safety reasons. The workbench itself has a power strip on it, so you can plug in the workbench and then plug things into that. So you want to be careful, just like you would with any other kind of power strip for plugging things in. It also has adapters or plug-ins for USB devices. So if you want to plug in or charge something through your workbench, you can do that as well. Okay, let's see if I can go back to this. Trying to go back between all the different things. We have not too much more time, so I want to go through and just point out a few things. With your framework that you receive, the curriculum framework, there is going to be a set of safety cards, and then there's also going to be a couple of different stickers. So there's two stickers, one that is a Making STEM Connection sticker that you can put onto your cart. This would be really great, especially so that your cart does not get confused with a workbench or a tool cart that might be used by somebody else in your building. So it will designate it as something that is used with the Making STEM Connections program. There's also a label that will come that reminds you about not having multiple drawers open at a time. So it's really important. It's just like with your dressers, right, at home, that if you have something heavy on the top of a dresser and you have multiple drawers open, it can make it unsteady, and that could fall down on somebody. So those two stickers, those adhesive stickers, will come in your kit. Then you will also get these safety cards. And so these safety cards, you saw the young student reading the safety cards earlier in the video. They will talk about different categories of safety. So there are things like electronics. So there's a variety of materials that you are getting that could be an electronic safety component to think about. Batteries, probably one of the things that most people don't think about with batteries is storing them in a safe capacity. You are going to get some rechargeable AA batteries and a charging device for those. When you store those, it is very important that you don't store them in a capacity where the positive and the negative of two different batteries are in contact, because that could allow, first of all, the flow, the charge to leave those batteries, but you could potentially short batteries out. It's very important that you store batteries in an appropriate way so that they do not complete that circuit, if you will, and let the power drain from that battery. You will get, I'm going to go back for just a second. You will get some motors. You're going to get DC motors, also a rotating tool that we were talking about that you want to be careful with and keep your fingers away. There's various hand tools. Pliers can certainly pinch. They can pinch fingers. We talked about the handsaw and the hammers. Wire cutters, we talked about the tape measure that has a, the metal component. Something else to think of, you're getting parchment paper and aluminum foil. Both of those boxes have a serrated edge on them for tearing that material. A student could potentially cut their finger on that as well. So you want to be careful and talk about what is the appropriate way that you tear those type of materials off of, or out of the box, off of that kind of serrated cutting device. Things that have hot temperatures. So we can look at things like soldering irons, hot glue guns, the iron themselves, or even the 3D pen. Those are all things that have extreme temperatures to them. So we can talk about safety in terms of heat and what parts get hot versus what parts do not. So what are the safe ways to hold or to handle these materials that can get hot? Sharp objects, we can talk about safety components of different things. We talked about scissors, we talked about the box cutter. You can also look at things like needles. So you get felting needles, you get sewing machine and hand sewing needles as well. So it's important to talk to students about the appropriate way to use those and to store them. I find sometimes that students don't understand where to put needles when they're done with them. So the package of hand sewing needles that you get, the needles come on a magnet, which I really like. So that magnet could be stored on the side of the sewing machine or something else, and then the needles stick to that magnet. But definitely talk about that. What happens if a needle from the sewing machine breaks? What's an appropriate way to throw away a needle like that? So these are all good discussions to have with your students. What I do, and maybe you have other suggestions with a broken needle, similar to broken glass, is I wrap it up in an envelope or paper or something and then tape it closed before I put it into the garbage. If you have a sharps container, that would be a great place to store that as well. There is a parent letter in your curriculum framework. I highly recommend you sharing that with your the parents of the students you're working with so they can be made aware of the materials that you're going to be using and give them some of that confidence in safely using those kinds of things. I have on here, it's a video. I'll send this video out. We're not going to have time to watch it today, but it is a TED Talk about the 5 dangerous things you should let your kids do. And I think it's really valuable for us to think about that. How many items that we automatically say that students shouldn't be able to use because they could hurt themselves? And how can we change that thought process of how to use it in a safe manner? So things like fire. I'm not advocating for you using fire necessarily in your makerspace. It depends on how it's set up. And, if you have smoke detectors, sprinklers, fire extinguishers, all of that. But just something to think about is think about what students can learn by playing with fire. Think about how they can use a knife as a tool in an appropriate way. There's a lot of technical aspects of throwing a spear, right? Now that could develop your students' understanding of projectile motion, for example. And we tend to think, well, we shouldn't let students do that. And I encourage you, I highly encourage you to think about how do we make appropriate decisions about the tools that come in a kit and find ways for students to use them in a safe manner. So I will send out this video link. It's a YouTube video. It's actually really interesting. This gentleman, Jolie, has a book called The 50 Dangerous Things You Should Allow Your Kids to Do. Which is really, it's a fascinating list and is a good challenge for us sometimes to think about. Something we're going to reference a lot is that Maker Ed has a youth makerspace playbook that gives lots of information. The link is on here. It is a free file that you can download. It's a PDF. And at every one of our webinars, we're going to reference this because you will find some support materials in here about all of the topics we're going to talk about. So this would be something great to print out and keep in a 3D or a binder, like a 3-ring binder, or just keep it as a PDF on any of your devices so that you can go back and look at it and get lots more information. Our Invent to Learn book has definitely some information about safety that you can look at. And in our last few minutes, I just want to point out that here's our schedule for the rest of our webinars and the topics that we will be talking about next week or next webinar. We're going to have Josh from Crossbraining talk to us, and he's the source that we use to purchase all of our GoPro cameras from. And he has started a company called Crossbraining, and what he does is he has set up a platform for students to take recorded videos from the GoPro and set it into an app that allows you to do some very, very simple video editing. And his whole premise of Crossbraining is to create 45-second videos that demonstrate learned concepts. So if the challenge is show me what you have learned about Newton's laws of motion, then they use the GoPro camera in various capacities to record that, and then they compile it into a 45-second video that we can use as an assessment tool. So Josh is going to talk to you about the GoPro itself, how to use it, and a little bit about the app itself. Then you'll see that we're going to learn, we will have Nick from MergeCube talk to us also in November, beginning of November, and talk about the uses of the MergeCube and the new exciting things that they have. And then on our last one in November, we will have Jeff Motes talk about Root Robot, which will be coming in your kit that you'll get end of this week, beginning of next week, and talk about how he uses that with his students at Summit Middle School in Johnston. So that's the end of our webinar. We don't always go the full 2 hours, but we did today. One was my technical difficulties. Sorry about that at the beginning. I've never done this many screen sharings before, so I just wasn't completely sure on how to do that between multiple cameras and multiple people. So hopefully we won't have that problem next time. But as always, if you have questions about anything in particular, especially by the next time, you should all have your materials. So if something comes up, a question you have about something, let me know ahead of time, and I can either reply to you by email, or I'm certainly happy to connect you to a resource, or I can talk about it during the next webinar. So I thank you for your time today. And if you have any last questions, you can certainly put those into the group chat. I appreciate all of your responses. I saw earlier when we were setting up with Marcy and her kids, somebody asked about stipend checks. Those have been written, and they are in the process of being signed to be mailed out. So you should have those in the next week or so. I'll let you know as soon as I know for sure that they've been mailed. Again, with those, the challenge we have is that we have to write a check for every single person. So we're talking about, like, between making STEM connections on Pint Size Science, probably 600 checks. So it's just a process for us. But I hope that you should have it also by the end of next week. Okay. So I thank you for your time. Great to see everybody. My friend who from their iPhone said thank you. If you could let me know in the text who you are, that would be great, so I can record you for our attendance purposes. So I'll stay on for a little bit longer. If you have questions, you can put those in the group chat. Oh, so Nicole asked about obtaining credit. If you participated in the webinar today, that's why I write down all your names. You don't need to do anything else as far as the webinar goes. You don't have to write any reflections. Thank you, Leslie. I see that that's you on the iPhone. If you didn't watch this live and you're watching the recorded version, that's when I need you to write a reflection as proof that you watched it. So anybody who's watching it today, you're good. I've taken attendance. I know that you all watched it, and that will count for your credit. Okay? Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks, which hopefully you should have all your materials by then. Thank you.